All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. We got ourselves August 22nd and a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about neither plays like player props that we like within each game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays. So when I'm actually rolling myself, if you do want to fade me, all of that absolutely free down in the pinned comment. In terms of how we did yesterday, all right, it started off real rough, and then we recouped a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, it was still a slightly negative day, but the way this started was Contreras, he does not hit. The Giants-Padres under, that does not hit. The Mets-Nationals first 500, even though we had to sweat out both those unders, still losses. That doesn't hit. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a bad night. And it wasn't a great night, but the Astros battle back. The Cardinals battle back. And in terms of battle back, I mean in terms of our win-loss. They, right out the gates, had the wins in their pocket. So love to see that. Again, though, don't want to blow smoke up here. You know what? Still a negative night, but it just was not as bad as it looked like it was going to be. So in some weird betting world, that almost feels like we salvaged some sort of some win or dignity there. But speaking of wins, how about this? The ride of the day, pumping some crowd noise here from Mikey. Dodgers, Padres, money line. I think we jumped on at, plus 124 here. You could see on the tracker for the ride of the day. Drop a cha-ching for the Friday vibes there. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump aboard with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to roll and ride with your plays and let you go on a little bit of a streak like you saw on the tracker there. So looking forward to seeing what Mikey drops for us today. If you win, we can do the ride with you. If you do lose, you still get the shout out though. But we got to talk about a loss, which no one really wants to do, right? So let's see what we got today, guys. Get those hashtag ride of the days down in the comments. But all right, what do you say we go ahead and dive into this slate, guys? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It's a Friday, we're feeling good. Let's jump into it. We got the Pirates taking on the Rockies here. On the mound for the Pirates, looks like it's going to be Braxton Ashcraft going up against Antonio Sensatella. This one isn't a spot in which I'm diving too deep into throughout the day. I don't think this is the best matchup on the board. What I will say is I don't think the Pirates deserve to be near minus 200 favorites over anybody in the league. So I will lean towards the Rockies. Do I love Sensatella? No. I don't think either offense is all that phenomenal either, but you could also make the argument that Colorado's offense has looked a little better, but I'm willing to say that's because they just played, it was like 7 or 8 straight games at home, which obviously can kind of inflate some numbers. So for me, this is just by default, I'm not going to be laying that juice with the Pirates, so let me look at the other squad, the Rockies, right? And then kind of same thing for the total. I don't necessarily love either one of these pitchers, but by default, I can't trust both of these offenses to show up. So unfortunately, we're starting off with kind of a moot point type of a series or game, but it is what it is. I don't love either one of these, but I would say that, for the value, it's probably Rockies for me. I just cannot seem to stomach minus 200 odds with a Pirates team like this. All right, next up, we have the Phillies taking on the Nats here. Nationals coming off of, I guess you could say, a decent series against the Mets, right? They win 2 of 3, including games 2 and 3, so they have a little momentum behind them. But Philadelphia sweeping Seattle. They just played this Nats team and took 2 of 4. That was in Washington, which I do think that's worth noting because this Phillies team, their offense seems to just do a lot more when at home, averaging almost 5.4 runs per game at home this year. On the mound, we have Taijuan Walker going up against Cade Cavalli. Cavalli's actually looked okay in a couple starts and not so much in the others. His most recent start was against his Philadelphia squad. 7 innings pitched, 0 earned, 5 strikeouts, no walks, no home runs, 12 pitches per inning. Let's give it up from there. I don't necessarily think that this is going to be the same situation. They get to see him again. He's a young pitcher. They're going to get to see him now when they're at home. I can't necessarily sit here and think that he's going to pitch the best game. Where I kind of give Washington credit is I think that they can tag Walker a little bit as well. I mean, he pitched okay against them, 6 2/3, 2 earned, that type of thing when they first played. But again, they just saw him, and he isn't really all that good against lefties. I'll still maintain that, that's not the side you want to be bad at against Washington. So I expect some runs here, but it's still Phillies all day for me, even if we're paying a little bit of juice. On Novig right now, which I have a link to Novig down in the description, you can get them at minus 165. -105. Yes, that is a crazy, crazy juiced price in the grand scheme of things, but other books have this in the -180s, -190s. So I do like the Phillies. If you can't get that price, -1 I'm still comfortable with. This is the Phillies at home. They're playing really good baseball. I expect them to put up a decent number today. So I'm going to lean towards the Phillies and the over. I believe that over is already all the way to 9 now, or 9.5. So yeah, I still don't mind the 9. 9.5, you're kind of getting out of depth there. Maybe even just take a peek at the Phillies team total over, because at least we can count on, okay, if they don't get to Cavale, then maybe they can still kind of tag up that bullpen, which isn't all that great. So Phillies in the over for me in this one. I wanted to kind of look at some player props. A few guys in the middle of that order, Alex Baum and Brandon Marsh, entice me just because they fit the pitch mix well, hitting the changeup and the fastball and the sinker fairly well, but nothing jumped off the page. So just FY, those are two names that I considered, but nothing that I was like ultimately thrilled with. So realistically, the Phillies money line is probably the main thing that I'm going to kind of try and see if we can get down as a final play. All right, Baltimore taking on the Stros. This is one of our nice calls yesterday, and we only had a couple of them, right? But that being said, we only had 3 bad calls. When I took the Astros, the comments were like 50-50 split. I saw a bunch of people being like, this team is so bad right now, why are you taking them? And if you watch the video, I did explain that it's more so a flyer, right? I know this team hadn't been scoring, but then there are a lot of other people kind of in agreement being like, yeah, this is probably the time to take it. We'll take it. They end up winning 7-2. Today, Cade Povich on the mound against them in Baltimore. Houston, it looks like it's going to be Lance McCullers Jr. He's returning to the rotation. I'm going to still lean towards the Astros, and the reason being is I think that they are the all-around better team when you want to look at it from a batting perspective, a bullpen perspective. If you want to make the argument that Cade Povich has more talent than Lance McCullers, I'm not really going to argue that, but I do still think that Cade Povich has had plenty of struggles. Since coming back, he's had one good start, one bad start. The bad start was against the Phillies, a good offense. The good start was against the Athletics. Right now, a good offense, but maybe we could make the argument they weren't. So I do think that there is an advantage, kind of across the board, at least for the majority of this game for Houston, especially if they do see the ball well and are able to put up some runs like they did yesterday. Cade Povich's numbers against his Astros team: 41 plate appearances against, 29% K rate, 7% walk rate, average against, though, of 324, expected slugging 441, and a WOBA of 421. So nothing that's all that enticing or anything thrilling, right? I also love the fact that we're going to see a lot of sliders, sinkers, even that knuckle curve, the changeup. We're going to see a pretty decent pitch mix selection from Lance McCullers. A lot of those pitches, like I said yesterday, if you're not just humming fastball in there, the Orioles are starting to have a little bit of trouble. Not even starting, the Orioles are having trouble with these pitchers. So if McCullers does his job, hands it off to what I would consider a fairly good to go bullpen, I think we could be looking at another Astros money line play here. Now, I think right now they're -105. That's not as good as the plus money we got yesterday, but still worth taking, I would say. So keep an eye on the final plays. That's definitely got its fair chance. And I also lean Astros team total over, same reason as yesterday, and same thing that I just talked about. I think that they can get to Povich. He's a lefty. They've been hitting lefties a little bit better than righties now. They haven't been hitting anybody all that substantially well, but if they head in the right direction, I think this could be a decent day for them to put up a fair number. I'm not saying they put up 7 again, but a decent number, which should also lead to a money line win. Real quick, guys, before we do move on, I want to talk to you about Chalkboard. Yes, Chalkboard, because they have an awesome new user deal right now. It's available in a ton of states. If you sign up, you have to use code GUYBOSTON, GUYBOSTON, spelling bee champ. I'll have a link down in the description as well as the pinned comment. But if you sign up and use code GUYBOSTON, you'll get a free $20 right on sign up. No deposit necessary or anything like that. It's not a deposit match. It's not a play and get this. You're literally going to get a free $20. So go check it out. If your state is highlighted right here, you have no excuse as to why you're not jumping on Chalkboard. Again, use code GUYBOSTON on sign up. You'll get a free $20 to play with. It is a really, really cool app. And you can also throw teams in there, which is really, really cool. So this is much like the DFS apps that are in circulation right now, which all have their own perks and values and unique factors. I love the fact that you can take teams overs or run lines or money lines in this spot, adding 2 or more into an entry, and obviously the more you win, the more you get paid out. They also clearly have player props as well. So go ahead and check it out, guys. You will not be disappointed, especially with a free $20. Are you kidding me? That link will be down below in the description as well as the pinned comment, or get Chalkboard on the App Store right now and just use code GUYBOSTON. Again, GUYBOSTON. Absolute no-brainer. I'm fired up to tell you about that deal. Go ahead and check it out. Now let's get back to these games. Yankees taking on the Red Sox. Yesterday, we did kind of think the Yankees had the upper hand, which you could still argue they had the upper hand, but the Red Sox end up winning, and it's almost like, even though we didn't see it going that way, I sit here as a Red Sox fan watching that enthralled, you know what I mean? So shout out to the Sox. They win 6-3. Shout out to Roman Anthony. That's what I should be saying shout out to. Today, we have Max Fried on the bump going up against Brayan Bello. Brayan Bello has fantastic numbers against this Yankees squad. Now, Max Fried has been struggling, so I don't necessarily think he's going to go out there and pitch a legitimate gem against this Red Sox team. He throws a lot of cutters. You can even see via our dashboard right here. A lot of cutters, right? The Red Sox fastball and cutter, you don't want to even put near them right now. So I do think that there could be some Red Sox elevation, and maybe they kind of put a couple off Max Fried. But altogether, I don't think either one of these squads busts open the other starting pitcher. So I still lean Yankees in a bounce-back spot, in a rivalry spot. I know I hate it as a Red Sox fan. And by saying Yankees, it's almost like me more or less putting in the sense of, like, I don't think this is a Red Sox spot, you know? Like, it's not like I'm all over the Yankees. The first 5 under, I actually don't necessarily mind. You're going to get a slider and sinker combo from Bello. I already told you some really, really good numbers against this Yankee squad. And then Max Fried at home against a Red Sox team that, you know, is only hitting a couple types of pitches right now, he should be able to kind of hold his own as well. In terms of these two pitchers this year, Brayan Bello and Max Fried faced off against one another back in June. 7 innings pitched from both of them. 9 strikeouts, 2 earned from Fried, and then 8 strikeouts, 0 earned from Bello. Yes, you can make the argument, oh, both offenses saw the pitcher before. Sure, but I kind of like the idea that we already have success in this exact same matchup. So that first 5 under, I should say first 5 under 5 is what I'm looking at, because I could see this being like a 3-2 game at maximum, which would be a pretty big, you know, first 5, but it'd be push potential there with the first 5. Under 4.5, I still like for the price, but 5 is probably what I'd ultimately end up considering in a sense. All right, Marlins taking on the Blue Jays. Looks like we're going to get Ryan Gusto for the Marlins, going up against Shane Bieber, who has not pitched in over a year at this point, right? April 2024, I think, is when he last threw and had Tommy John surgery. Former Cy Young winner, now pitching for a new team. Could be pretty interesting. I feel like Toronto's getting some of like the old, these guys are really good for other teams, and then they're grabbing them. I'm going to say that Toronto's offense still outweighs what we're looking at in terms of Miami. Now, Miami's coming off of a series in which the offense looked pretty good against St. Louis, right? I would say the last couple games against Boston as well, but still somewhat of an inconsistent offense. That's the word I'd use. They're only averaging 3.8 runs per game at homes this season. In their last, few games here, 4 runs per game. So even though I say they're coming off a good series, it's nothing all that crazy. Now, Toronto's offense we know is very, very good. They should have their guys back, including Guerrero. So I think that they can get to Ryan Gusto in a sense. That's realistically what I'm going to be basing this on. So Shane Bieber, sure, maybe he goes out there and pitches well. Maybe he goes out there and gets tattooed. I don't mind the over some runs in this game, but I think the Blue Jays are probably the side that I want to be on. Now, if it is Gusto, I should mention that isn't the confirmed starting pitcher as of right now. If it is Gusto, I like Vladimir Guerrero here over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Literally every single pitch. And Gusto has a 6-pitch pitch mix. It's mostly fastball, but every single pitch he's going to throw, Vladimir Guerrero hits well right now. So I'd like his over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Also correlates to me liking an over as well. So if you can get the Blue Jays at anything, near, I would even say minus 145 or something like that, I think this is probably the side. I do believe that they are the better team than the Marlins, even though the Marlins are at home right now. If Shane Bieber goes out there and even does halfway decent and pitches well, we could be in for a nice little kind of cakewalk to the finish line, I would say, with Toronto, which, saying a cakewalk to the finish could easily be the kiss of death, but we shall see. Toronto moneyline, Vladdy, and that over are all possibilities for final plays today. Next up, we have the Tigers taking on the Royals. Ryan Bergert on the mound for the Royals, going up against Casey Mize. Now, Ryan Bergert has a lot of talent, and he's shown it recently. Last 5 starts, 1.6 ERA. This is with a mix of the Royals and the Padres. He's pitching into the 6th inning in his last few. 3.4 hits per game, 6 strikeouts per game, 2 walks, less than a home run, and 17 pitches per game. That's pretty good. Now, Casey Mize has also been very good, but his numbers in his career, and I will say this year he has one really good start, and the start before that was really good, and then he has kind of a blemish start against them most recently. But in his career, these numbers against this current Royals roster don't look all that fantastic. You have 96 plate appearances again, so a decent enough sample size, 10.4% K rate, low, 6.3% walk rate, not that high, but with a 10% K rate, kind of seems a little higher, right? An average against of 393, expected slugging 565, and a WOBA of 442. So this is all Royals for me today. For the plus money, I would say if these odds were flipped, which they're not, but if these odds were flipped, I wouldn't have any problem looking at the Tigers. They are absolutely playing really, really, really well right now. So I'm not trying to take that away from them, but for plus 140, I think the Royals probably would be the side that I'd look at. If you think that, Ryan Berger won't pitch well or something like that, then yeah, I could also get behind the Royals for, they're over 3.5 in terms of team total. They've done that 8 of their last 10 games, and even using our dashboard, which I'll explain how to get access to the dashboard a little later on in the video, but you can see here, fastball, splitter, these are pitches that he's going to see, the curveball that we're going to see. Fastball, splitter, 2 really good pitches. The curveball, middle of the pack, but still a meat of that order. Pasquantino, Garcia, Perez, Frazier, they all hit that curveball well, right? So all the pitches that we're going to see from Casey Mize, this Royals team seems to hit fairly well. So to me, it's going to be Royals for me for that plus money. But their team total over definitely is something that is enticing as well. Now, Bobby Witt Jr. Smacks the splitter. In the last 30 days, he has a 21.6 runs above average number associated with that pitch. So to me, you don't need to look any further than him if you do like a player prop in this one. I will say over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs is like minus 150 right now. Maybe it's worth it just taking a peek at the over in bases and or 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs if you want to get a little, plus money for it, because I do think that he could have a good day. Obviously, he's one of the best in the game, so we're asking for a lot with some of these numbers. That said, you don't get very many opportunities where he just hits the pitch that he's going to see most often that well. Like, it's not that common of a pitch. So those are 3 spots that I'd look at. And again, I think there's a lot of good spots on the board today. All 3 of those are viable options if you or me are looking to place anything in terms of final plays on that one. Braves taking on the Mets. On the mound for the Braves is going to be Joey Wentz. He's going up against Nolan McLean here. Nolan McLean only has the one start under his belt. He did get the win. It was over the Mariners, 3-1. I believe was that at home though. But 5 in the third pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned. 4 walks, though, 8 strikeouts. So good debut, obviously, for him, I would say. Now he's going up against a Braves offense that I don't really think is all that fantastic. I mean, yeah, they took 2 of 3 against the Chicago team, but they won 1-0. Now, you could make the argument that they looked a lot better than the Mets did, and they just recently played. They also looked pretty good against Cleveland, so maybe I shouldn't be jumping at their offense after 1 game. I'll give you that. But realistically, what I do like the look of is the fact that we're going to see out of Joey Wentz, fastball and cutter. And yes, the Mets struggle against lefties, but check these 2 pitches out. Number 2 against the fastball last 30 days, runs above average, and number 4 against the cutter. So for me, it's simple enough. I like the idea of the Mets because you're getting a decent price. Their team total over is something that I'd consider as well. If you can get this anywhere around 4.5 I'd want plus money for. Don't think I'd love that as much, but even if you can get like minus 145, minus 150 for 3.5, I could see them putting in, 4 runs today. Couple off Wentz, couple off the bullpen, that type of a thing. And then Starling Marte over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He hits the fastball and cutter pretty damn well, right? And the curveball, which is the 3rd pitch that we'll see from Wentz, really well. The only thing I'm kind of hesitant to lock that in is he's been a little strugglesome against the left hand, which is where Joey Wentz is going to pitch from. So to me, there is kind of enough there to be like, all right, maybe we'll think twice about it. But Wentz is due. I would say Wentz is certainly due for some regression. 3 of his last 4 starts have been fantastic. So to me, this is a good spot to kind of back the Mets some way, shape, or form. I'd say it like this: I'd pay the juice for the 3.5 for their team total over, or I'd kind of scout and see if we can get plus money on the money line for them, because I think we have some even ends when it comes to the bullpens overall. All right, Tampa Bay taking on St. Louis. While this was one of our heavier plays yesterday and it did come through, I will admit, not exactly my favorite matchup to dig into today, just because I think you can make certainly an argument on either side, and there's just kind of like a counterpoint to any good point that we can make for either side. So we have Adrian Hauser on the side of Tampa Bay. He is coming off a really good start against San Francisco. 5 innings pitched, 0 earned, 6 strikeouts. Before that, he hadn't really looked all that great in a Tampa Bay uniform. Going up against Miles Mikolas, who's been mediocre at best recently. Like, some of his numbers you're going to say look really, really well or look good, and he's been pitching well. But to me, he's still a guy that just kind of lucks into some of these things. Nothing against him. It's been happening all year long. I mean, he did go through a little bit of a drought in terms of luck, but for the most part, he's been allowing guys on base, walking some guys at times, and then still no one comes in. So more power to him, I guess. I'm going to say that we do see less runs, I guess, than we did yesterday in this one. And I'll lean towards the Cardinals because I still think they're the better overall team for plus money. But to me, like I said, any point that you make realistically about this game, you can kind of follow it up and make a counterpoint and look at the other side pretty well, which is the beauty of like diving into games and sports betting altogether. I will say that, like, that's the beauty that, you know, obviously you can make a point on either side. This just seems to be one where it's a little bit more prevalent, and that doesn't necessarily seem to be like the best place to invest our monies. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not putting my hard-earned bread on something that I can easily even counter against myself, arguing with myself in a room. So that's what it is. Guys, comment 20 if you made it this far in the video, because I do think that is a little important nugget to hear. Like, if you can truly make a really good argument on the other side, sometimes sticking away might be the best thing. So comment 20 if you made it this far in the video. It also lets me know that you heard that little tidbit of a rant or something. All right, White Sox taking on the Twins here. We just kind of mentioned the White Sox. They came off that series against the Braves, and yeah, they lost 2 of 3, but they scored, 13 runs in game 1. They won. Then they scored 10 in game number 2. Followed up with a dud with 0, but still, I mean, kind of crazy that they lose 2 of 3, and in 2 of those games, he scored 10 and 13 runs. Minnesota's coming off of getting swept by the Athletics. This Minnesota team isn't looking all that fantastic, and I do think that it's kind of an interesting spot for them to be favored by so much on the road here. So to me, this is going to be a spot in which I like the White Sox for plus money at home, but I don't mind the idea of an over. A lot of fastballs out of Zebby Matthews. That's a pitch that the White Sox are hitting really well right now, and their offense is not necessarily the problem. I know 0 runs in that last game, but still, they scored 10 and 13 before that. They're gonna hit that fastball, I think. On the flip side, for Aaron Savale, he's going to throw a lot of curves, a lot of cutters, 2 pitches in which we see this Minnesota team actually hitting fairly well. So I don't mind the idea of an over, and look no further than Trevor Lawrence here in terms of his pitch mix rating. We have him at 8 out of 10 rated via our Score Predicts pitch mix rating. I like his over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. You can get it for like minus 103 right now too. So I think that could be a nice spot for a player prop as well. And it kind of correlates to the idea that I think the White Sox offense could be somewhat fluid today, not just dried up and putting up 0 runs, right? So, you know, maybe it is crazy to lean White Sox with these 2 offenses, crazy to lean the over. But I do think that could be a decent player prop in terms of final play. He also has some really good numbers, small sample size, but against Savale, batting .333 through 6 plate appearances, 2 hits, 1 home run, 3 RBIs, striking out just 16% of the time. Against the cutter, 410 WOBA, just a 10% K rate. The sinker, 16% K rate, 395 WOBA. The curveball he strikes out against a lot, but a 328 WOBA. So all 3 pitches that he'll see early on from Savale could be pretty damn good. So yeah, I think that might be a player prop to look at there. It's kind of like a diamond in the rough. Shout out to Score Predicts if that one comes through, our other site. By the way, guys, scorepredicts.com. Predicts is spelled Predix. You have projections for every game, score projections, as well as some batter pitch mix data that we're working on. We're building a bunch of like research tools over there as of right now. But guys, let me tell you how to get access to the MLB dashboard over on GuyBostonSports.com. You can see we have the dashboard loaded up here. GuyBostonSports.com. Head to the members area. Click to the MLB dashboard. Geez, can I talk? $6.99 a month right now. You get pitcher data, you have bullpen data, you have batting data. You get everything you need to start your research process. You can start and end it here. I would always say, guys, the more research tools you have, the better, and that's why we want to bring this to you at a very cheap price, $6.99. Overall, this is a tool that will kind of set you, like I said, on the right way. Because it's color-coded, because you're getting every aspect of the game that you need to consider, it can kind of give you a vibe for the game. If you want to go to site X, site Y, site Z, or whatever afterwards to kind of do your due diligence and double-check, sure, I don't think that that's wrong at all, but I do think that this tool is very, very powerful right off the rip. So I call it a one-stop shop because I will sometimes come in here and be like, all right, well, pitcher stinks, batting's good. You know, batting against those pitches good. Bullpen stinks. And it's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer, right? We even have the odds in there. So there's just a lot of cool stuff within this dashboard. Is it going to be something that you sit there and look at and it just spits you out of play? I mean, if it's that lopsided, the odds are probably following suit. No, this is not an AI picks provider or anything like that. This is a tool that if you use long enough, and when I say long enough, for a few days, you'll start to see the patterns that you're looking for, and it'll help you out optimize and efficient and make your research process more efficient. So check it out, guys, GuyBostonSports.com. Obviously, I built the tool, so I swear by it, but I built it for me. originally. I keep telling you guys that. This is not something I was like, all right, how can we get the people to pay $7 a month? No, I built this for me, and then at one point said, you know what? This is a really cool tool. Let's bring it to the people. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, GuyBostonSports.com. Head to the members area. Next up, Rangers taking on the Guardians. We got my man Nate Eovaldi on the bump, going up against Slate Shoshone. Now, Slade has had his, I want to say, ups and downs. He is coming off of, a couple rough starts. We can admit that, right? I mean, against the White Sox, he went 3 innings, 5 earned. Then against Cleveland, he went 4 2/3, 8 runs came in, 6 earned on 10 hits. Okay, really bad. We do have Eovaldi here in this spot, which is going to help out because one of my favorite spots, you know what, screw it. We'll get to it. One of my favorite spots tonight is the first 3 and first 5 under in this game. I think Shoshone can kind of step in and do okay here against a Rangers offense that isn't like absolutely crushing it, right? We have Eovaldi that we can trust on his side because it's not like this Cleveland offense is the best thing in the world, right? 3-7 in their last 10 games. So I think a low scoring start to this game could be kind of something that we're looking for today, which obviously really like that. Now, in terms of liking the Rangers, you can get this for a better price than that -169 right now, but even still, I think it's like -140. That's where I would look. But again, if Eovaldi's going to go out there and pitch well and give them a chance, I think that that's the way to their success. So an under is definitely something I'm considering more than Texas, because I don't think that, like I already mentioned, it's not like this Texas offense is out there just slaying the dragon, right? So to me, an under is probably my priority in this game, whether it's first 3, first 5, whatever it is. But Texas with Eovaldi on the mound, I think is a massive advantage. You flip it over to the bullpens, and Texas' bullpen is fairly taxed, so that's why I'm not really considering that full game under. They have a lot of guys that went. Now, I don't think anyone's really out of commission necessarily, because they've been kind of splitting it pretty well in terms of one guy pitching this night and 2 guys, then one guy again. But even using our dashboard, you could see a lot of guys have gone recently. Obviously, decent bullpens on both sides. So if you do like the full game under, that's all you have access to, sure. But that first 3 and first 5, kind of right up my alley today. And then again, Rangers, just because of Eovaldi, I don't think the offense is going to go out there and absolutely crush them. I know I was kind of all over the place there, but again, I want to make it clear that, and I don't say this in videos very often because I don't think it's always the best to have like one of your favorite plays of the night, because then people might do stupid things. But that first 3, first 5 under is definitely something that I've been eyeing all morning. I do think it's one of my priority, to get in right now type plays, in my opinion. So we'll see if that comes through, guys. You can always fade me, but that is going to be one of my main looks today. So apologies if I was all over the place breaking that game down. It's almost like I'm excited, a kid in the candy store, to talk about one of my plays that I really do like today. We'll see if it ends up cashing. All right, Brew Crew taking on the Giants. Brewers coming off of a win, and it feels like forever since they had a win, because they had lost, was it 3 straight against the Cubs? Anyways, they're now playing the Giants, who are trash. This team is 2-8 in their last 10. I don't really love this spot for the Giants, and I will think that it's okay to pay the juice for the Brewers here. I like the Brewers team total as well. We have Jose Quintana on the mound going up against Carson Whisenhunt. We're going to see a lot of sinkers, changeup, curveballs out of Quintana. You can see here, if it's not a fastball cutter or splitter, the Giants aren't having it, right? They stink at all those other pitches. And would you look at this, fastball changeup is what we're going to see out of Whisenhunt. And yeah, the Brewers should be able to hit him well. They're back at home here too. So I think this is a good spot to take a peek at the Brewers and or their team total over. And then going right back to the guy that let us down yesterday, William Contreras. I like his over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Now this on ProfitX and some of the exchanges right now is in the -130s. That's what I would take it at. If you're looking at -155, -160, don't think that that's all that. I'd rather pay the juice for the Brewers money line at that point. Okay, so just wanted to give you kind of like a sense of where I'm seeing these odds. But yeah, I like both the Brewers and Contreras, as well as their team total over. I wonder what their team total over. We haven't actually pulled up those odds yet, because if that thing is, fair value enough, we might be taking a peek at that. Over 3.5 -180, over 4.5 +100. Nah, I don't think so. I think I'm looking at them to probably score 5 runs today, but I don't know if I would want like +105 to +115, I think. So yeah, I'm cool with the Brewers, cool with William Contreras. I think that we have 2 good looks there. This Giants team, if they come out here and beat the Brewers, so be it. But this seems like a perfect situation. Both teams played yesterday, so it's not like one team has the rest advantage. The Brewers traveling, as are the Giants. Brewers now back home after a pretty bad series against a rival. Seems like a hammer spot for them. We'll see. I don't know if there should be such things as a hammer spot, but we already talked about one of our most confident plays just a second ago. Brewers, another spot that I'm really liking. Angels taking on the Cubs here. Cubs, like we just mentioned, coming off a pretty good series against Milwaukee. Angels, 5-5 in their last 10, but in their last 5 games have kind of struggled. I think it's 2-3 and then 4-3. No, 2-4 in their last 6. I could do math, I swear, but sometimes the low numbers are tough. Today we have Tyler Anderson on the bump. He's been literally giving you 5 to 6 innings of 4 earned, like it's clockwork recently. Going up against, I believe, Ben Brown. I've also seen Carne Asad's, Javier Asad's name out there, but I think it's going to be Ben Brown. In this spot, I think you have to look at the Cubs. They're the better team right now. I do think that they are by far and away the better team. But at the same time, both of these pitchers and their pitch mixes could be okay against the opposing offense. You could see it here. Ben Brown, a lot of fastballs. Okay, well, LA not hitting the fastballs all that well. Fastball, changeup, and cutter. Terrible fastball and cutter ratings for the Cubs. And then the changeup, not so much either. So I do think that this is a spot in which the under is live. I mean, you have a total at 9.5. This one could be 5-4, 5-3, and it's not like a low scoring game, but it's far under that number, right? Right now, we have this pegged at exactly 5-4 Cubs on our score predicts model. So I think I'm going to trust that for now. I'm going to lean towards the under and the Cubs. The Cubs, let's not act like, all of a sudden they're hitting lefties well. You know what I mean? There's a while where they're struggling against lefties. Tyler Anderson stinks out loud. I get that. But he still is a lefty, so we'll see. It would have to be those pitchers, by the way. I want neither pitcher is confirmed. Before we roll with an under, I'd have to know that it's these 2 pitchers because this is very specific to their pitch mixes. So just want to throw that out there. It needs to be Anderson and Ben Brown, which is weird to say. I don't think anyone's ever been like, I need Ben Brown and need Tyler Anderson. Never in the same sentence. Arizona taking on Cincinnati. Zach Littell on the mound for Cincinnati. He's been very, very good. A couple starts recently in which, hasn't looked phenomenal, but realistically, he pitches deep into games, doesn't throw a crazy amount of pitches, and has been very good. Going up against Ryan Nelson today, he was also a good pitcher. I mean, he has a couple shaky starts in his last 5, and I guess in the last 2, it was against Texas and then Colorado in Colorado. But for me, still enough to kind of like somewhat of an under in this game. Then I'm going to lean towards the Diamondbacks. I do think that they are a little bit more consistent as of right now, which is kind of crazy because we all kind of sold them off after the deadline, right? No Naylor and so like they lost a lot of guys, and still I think that they're a viable team in terms of especially being at home, competing with a team like Cincinnati. So to me, not the worst spot here for, the Diamondbacks, but I do like that first 3 and first 500. Now, in no correlation, I also like, I would say, Geraldo Perdomo and Corbin Carroll in terms of their pitch mixes here. They both hit the splitter really well. We're going to get a lot of splitters out of Littell, and then a lot of sliders out of him, too. They both hit the slider pretty well. So, yeah, Perdomo and Carroll overs could be something. Maybe even just like each of them to get a hit for some sort of a parlay today. That could be kind of fun. But Diamondbacks in somewhat of an under also on the tip of my tongue here, but those player prop spots may be a little bit more enticing if I'm being honest. All right, tough one here. We have the Padres taking on the Dodgers. Dodgers not exactly in the best situation. 4-game series in Coors. Next day, they play their rival here. San Diego coming off of a 3-4 win against San Francisco. These two teams did just play, and the Dodgers swept the Padres. That was kind of also in like the midst of the Dodgers not looking all that great. On the mound, we have Blake Snell here for the Dodgers. He's looked pretty damn good, but how shocking is that? It's Blake Snell. Going up against Yu Darvish, who he's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride since coming back. You could go either way in this one. Trust me, I'm not trying to talk anyone off of the Padres, but to me, this could be a Dodgers spot. I think they're the better team. I think they have a little bit more fire under their you-know-what right now, especially given the standings and everything like that. So I'm not trying to sell you on the Dodgers. It is just the spot that I'm going to be looking at. I believe the Padres are, a half game or a game back now in the NL West. So yeah, this is going to be a really good game. 2 rivals. They just played recently. This is going to be awesome no matter what. I also don't mind the idea of the over. You have the Yu Darvish is going to be throwing the sinker, the slider. Those are 2 pitches that I think that this Dodgers team can hit pretty well. And guess what? That slider, right at the top of the order, Shohei, who's back. Shohei, Mookie, and Will Smith all hit the slider really well. So that 1 through 3 is going to be real tough to see. They also crush righties. So to me, it's a fair spot to consider maybe a Dodgers team total over. But I do think that at least one of these teams is going to have a fantastic offensive night. Hoping it's the Dodgers if we lean in that direction. But hey, if the Padres can kind of carry the weight to the over, I don't mind that either. We'll see what we do from a final play. This could be very well be a kind of just watch as a fan with intensity behind it. We'll see if we end up putting our monies on it. All right, last but certainly not least, we have the Mariners taking on the Athletics. In this spot, it's kind of simple. I don't know if we actually get there ourselves. This is not a, like this is not like the encore when the show's over and it's like, oh, let's end with one more. This is kind of a blah matchup. But we have Brian Woo on the mound going up against Luis Morales. I would say obviously there's an advantage to the Mariners in the pitching department, bullpen as well. But this A's offense is something right now. So for the price tag, I lean Athletics and the over because, Seattle can certainly probably get to Morales to some degree. But I don't think that this Athletics offense is getting enough credit. Their last 6 games, 8-4, 6, 5-7, 10 runs scored. Pretty damn good. Now, Seattle's offense has been doing their thing a little bit more inconsistently, but still, to get to a total of 9 here, I don't think it's going to be all that crazy. I know it's a pitcher's ballpark and all that, but to me, the Athletics, just because of the price, I don't think Seattle should be minus 250. And the total over 8 could be something that we get behind. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. Really do appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, guys, I'm super appreciative. We have a ton of NFL stuff on the way, including our NFL futures bets that is already live on the channel right now, that video. So go ahead and check that out. And we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.